Good day to everyone. I am Francis Jimby Tuscano, and I'll be sharing about my thoughts on the importance of coding at this time around for schools and for the youth. I'm gonna first ask you a question. What's common among Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, and a lot of mobile games? At the same time, services such as Airbnb, Uber, or Grab in the country or in Southeast Asia. The most common thing among them are that they are all applications or apps or software. Then that's the first answer that really comes into our mind. But among them, they are also trailblazing products or applications in their own categories. We know that Facebook is the biggest social media network. I mean, Facebook does not own anything on Facebook. We post our videos, we post our photos, and in the end, it becomes part of the whole Facebook gamut of collection of media, making it the biggest, one of the biggest like multimedia platforms that we have. But it's us who's posting in Facebook, right? Or on Facebook. And then we have YouTube. YouTube is the biggest video sharing platform in the country or in the world. And yet, well, YouTube has its own original content now, but before it started doing that, YouTube has became one or maybe the biggest video sharing platform without even uploading their own content before. And then of course we have services such as Airbnb. Like Airbnb do not own hotels or houses for renting. They just pull things together, like provide services so that those who want to get their places for rent, people could just book in. It's the same with Uber and Grab. They don't have their own cars, but they're the biggest, platforms in their own categories of ride services. I've done some research, and for the past couple of years, according to CNBC, Apple's App Store grossed more than 64 billion in 2020. That is up against their 50 billion 2019 revenue. And a lot of the studies says that that the online services brought up by apps or softwares has really put a lot of people online again because of the lockdown. We cannot go out, right? So like for example, I like playing Pokemon Go, and you have to go out and explore the world to really catch Pokemon, visit gyms or fighting gyms or do other stuff. But then because of the lockdown, Pokemon Go has to adapt into the current situation because they don't want to lose revenue because people cannot go out because of the strict lockdown policies. Pokemon Go has to adapt and then do some sort of things that would enable me as a player. I'm staying at home so that I can still visit gyms, maybe 40 kilometers away from me or 10 kilometers away from me or 50 kilometers away from me through invitations by my friends inside the app. Or maybe because I can now have the power to raid gyms that are near me even without leaving my home, then I can do that. That's the beauty of what we call as coding. Coding, of course, you know what coding is. We've heard about it. But what I like about coding is that it opens up doors to opportunities for our youth, for children right now, and even for adults. Coding opens the door for app development, software development, or even website or web development. And then if you push further coding, it could also open your door towards programming, like robotics, where you program machines so that they can, do certain stuff that you want them to do. And there are a lot of people who are involved in this area right now. We have a lot of coders, ranging from young kids until to the more advanced ones. I know some of my students who were coding right at the beginning of the school year, and they have progressed and have taken computer science in the country and overseas to continue their passion about coding. They did not just code for website. They are also now coding for applications and even joining robotic competitions also, just because they've learned coding. So coding is a language on its own. It has its own, well, code and unquote, the ones and the zeros. And, putting them together requires you to learn that language, so that when you learn that language, you can speak with machines out there. Everything that we see right now, every machine, every technology that we see right now, whether we are directly using them, like the applications or apps in our cell phones, or maybe indirectly using them through the through the broadband waves, or maybe the cellular waves that are being beamed to us by satellites out there. We're not directly working with the satellites. Some people are working with it, but us consumers, we are indirectly using those technology tools. And what is common among them is that they speak the language of codes, like programming. All of the engineers behind them, all of the amazing people behind them have to learn the language of coding so that they can speak with the machines that they're working on. So coding opens to a lot of opportunities. And when you continue with it, there are a lot of things that you can do. You can become a software engineer. You can become an app developer. You can become an iCloud architect. You can become a machine programmer. You can build a lot of things. Maybe in the end, you can also end up being part of the team of engineers that fly satellites in the outer space. Or maybe you can join engineers that makes machines that would help the humanity to be better, happier, or maybe have a longer life if you become part of the medical technical teams or create products for it. So there are a lot of opportunities. There are a lot of products out there. But a lot of things are coming back to me as a teacher, as someone who appreciates coding also. There are a lot of things that I want to consider that should be the reasons why everyone should be involved in coding, especially the young kids. There are 3 reasons why I would like to say that coding should be something that is taught in the school. Coding should be part of the curriculum so that each student will learn how to code. Not because we want them to become engineers or software developers or app developers in the end. Well, that's good. We can have a lot of engineers out there. But I also want to advocate coding because there are 3 important things that we can do with them, or maybe our kids and youth can do with them. Number 1, it's a different way of problem solving. When you are coding like a website, or maybe when you're putting together codes for if you're creating an app, you know that there's a problem in there when you started debugging it. Like debugging is to look for bugs or maybe problems, challenges, why that makes your code not able to run perfectly. Then that kind of thinking pushes you to be more logical, right? To think about effects and consequences. If this happens, then this happens. Those kinds of things. But even so, there are many levels into how coding is a very different way of problem solving. You start with solving a problem, right? When I want to do coding with kids, I always tell them, it starts with something that you want to solve. Like maybe you want to help someone track their own rate of drinking, because drinking water is very, very important. Some people forget it. So maybe that's your problem. And then you design an app that would remind people to drink their water regularly through notifications. Those kinds of simple problems that we have could be the starting point for a lot of coders. So when we do problem solving in coding, there are different levels to it. You try to solve, you think a solution for a certain problem. When you start coding, when you start making those application, you have to go through each step so that everything works well in your codes, so that your application, what you're developing, will run well. If there's something that does not run well, then you have to debug it, you have to look at it, and you need to make sure that you go back to each code again. It's very tedious, right? It's very challenging. That's why it leads me to the second reason why coding should be taught in school. It's because it will teach students one life skill, a lot of life essential skills that are not taught by what we've learned, such as lessons or maybe whatever ideas that are being taught. These lessons are what we call as essential skills. These are lifelong learning skills that are very important and will help our kids, our students survive the real world outside the classroom. What are these skills? Skills of perseverance, attitude of grit, attitude of patience, not giving up. Coding is a messy work, right? There's a lot of problems that can be encountered when you're coding, and that's very natural. That's part of it. That's part of the fulfillment of being a coder, a programmer. When you later on see that there's a problem in it, but you persevere, you don't give up until it's fixed, then the joy of being a coder is finding that problem and being able to solve it so that everything gets to run perfectly again. You know, it's a tedious work, like what I've said a while ago. It's messy. You are bound to commit a lot of failures and mistakes. But remember that those things will actually help you to become a better person in real life. Real life itself have a lot of mistakes and failures. But you know, it's not what you've learned, it's not the ideas and concepts that and things that you can do that will help you become a better person, survive and be good in life outside the classroom. It's your attitude, it's how you feel, it's how you see your mistakes and get to learn from them, and how you persevere, and how you are patient with yourself, and how you don't give up so that you can continue learning and doing what is good for you and for everyone else. And one more reason, you know, you're solving a problem, you don't give up, but at the same time, you are also pushed to become a creative creator. A creative creator. What do you mean by that? You create something, but you have to you have to think outside the box. You have to make sure that you look at every angle so that you get to solve the problem. And in coding, while it's very logical, there are certain things that you need to follow. In the end, that is what will push you to think outside the box, to think of solutions that are not that are not easy, that are not convenient. It will help you think of solutions that have not been thought of yet, or maybe if the solution has been thought of already or has been made, then it will push you to think or to reimagine or to reassess how you can make it better. So those are the three things that I have to why coding should be taught, or why everyone should be a coder, especially for our kids. Number one, it's a different way of problem solving. Second, it pushes you to become creative. And third, which is I think the more important, it helps students persevere, learn how to be patient, learn how to practice grit, not to survive, not to end up giving up, but to actually persevere and thrive and even learn from one's mistakes and failures. So, you know, I have a personal sharing here. I love coding. I tried to study coding, but I only know a few basics of it. I want to push through studying coding and putting my ideas into real things, like a real application. But I have collaborators. I have amazing partners at Power Math Business Systems Incorporated, or PBSI, who have been helping me put my ideas into concrete things. So I have my own app. It's called Empower Ed Plus. It's on App Store, and our friends are amazing coders, programmers at Power Math PBSI. Actually, were the ones who helped me create it. So I designed how it looked like. I started with storyboarding. I drew what I love. I drew the buttons and the pages where it will go through when you tap on it. And our friends at PBSI have wonderfully made it into an application. So check on App Store. It's Empower Ed Plus. Now, this is the real thing. I want to end up my short sharing with the idea that, you know, the idea of being a coder is not that very strange. It's actually very familiar. We can compare coders with a wood artisan, a woodcraft maker, or a designer. Both of these people try to imagine things, that they can create, and they try to imagine things that can help people, that can help the people around them, and it's something good for the society. And then both uses tools. One is very concrete, we have wood, and the other one is very abstract, one's very virtual, make use of codes in the computer. But in the end, both of them have to make sure that these things are working well. And in the end, both the coder or the carpenter or the wood artisan would have to check if everything is working well. And if it's done well, then they can share it to the public so that everyone could make use of it. That's coding for everyone. Coding is like carpentry. It's like woodcraft. You are a wood artisan, but you're making tools for the modern society. You're making tools for the innovation-driven society. And I hope that when you become a coder, a programmer, a developer, you create products, you create wonderful, amazing products that will help everyone, not just yourself, not just your family, not just your friends, but everyone in the whole wide world, so that we can have a better life, a life that is happy, good, and something that we can all enjoy. So there, everyone can code. Everyone could be a coder. Everyone can learn how to code and help the world to become a better place. Thank you and happy coding, everyone.